Welcome to this week's episode of 0 to a Million, brought to you by Unstack. I'm your host, Zach Rego. Today's a very special guest. It's Ralph Folz, former CEO and founder of Molecular, CEO of WordStream, my boss for a long period of time. We'll get into that a little bit. Current advisor and investor for a variety of startups. I'm going to spend some time talking to Ralph about his experience building businesses, what he looks for in companies today, what industries he's really interested in investing in and advising. And we'll get into it. Ralph, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Zach. Great to be here. I went to school to be a software engineer, came to Boston to be a software engineer. I worked for a big company as my first job out of college. And I got lucky. I after doing a big company for 2 years, I went to join a startup. And it was just 10 of us. And we did scientific visualization software. And I wasn't a founder, but we were probably 10 people in size. And that's where I really loved the startup environment, you know, working on things that has immediate impact. And, you know, that company didn't make it at the end of the day, but I learned a ton. I learned a ton about risk taking, and that gave me the courage to start my own business. So, you know, there was one big pivot. I started Molecular with a co-founder, Tom Little. Our passion was distance learning, believe it or not. We wanted to build software that would allow you to take classroom or university courses breaking the geographic bounds. It was going to be over TCP/IP, over the base layer of the internet. And, you know, it turns out we were 20 years too early for that, you know, way too early. Yeah, way too early. But for a long time, we hung on to that vision. And then this thing called the internet came along. And, you know, the internet was so basic in the beginning. People forget this, but there was no video on the internet. There were no podcasts. It was basic websites, very basic interactivity, and an interest by bigger companies. You know, the web was transitioning from academia to being commercial. And all of a sudden you started seeing big companies have websites, and they needed help. No one knew how to do it. And it was quite technical, you know, back then. There was no Unstack back then. So, you know, my partner and I, we would do internet work for big brands on the side, and we would get paid for it like a consultant. And then at night we would build our distance learning software, which we thought was going to be, you know, the thing. And wouldn't you know it, you know, the internet took off so fast. We were well positioned for it. The business Molecular really turned into one of the first internet consultancies that there was. Our early niche was more technical sites, you know. So we were building software to distribute video over the internet when that was really hard, very technical. And so what came natural to us was sites that wanted to do interactivity, sites that wanted to do transactions. I'll give you one example. One of our big breaks was we landed Fidelity Investments as a customer, and we launched their very first website. It wasn't even on fidelity.com domain, but it had a college calculator on the site. It asked you, you know, Zach, you have one child, they're, you know, 2 years old. How much have you saved so far for college? And it would compute what you needed to save per month to have enough when they're ready for college, you know. And that was bleeding edge at the time. That was one of the first financial calculators on the web. But we went on to do, you know, we built Staples' first commerce site. We built transactional sites. We built big content management sites. Our customers tended to be the New England area, larger companies. Yeah, you know, it's funny. When I meet with entrepreneurs now, if I met, let's say you were starting a services business, I'd probably tell you not to raise venture capital for a services business. You know, I kind of have this belief that, you know, in services, you know, you can kind of innovate on the back of your customers sometimes, you know, kind of push the window with each new project and be able to apply that to next customers. And you can, and if I landed a new customer tomorrow, I might be able to get them to pay half up front and then, you know, a quarter and a quarter. And I can use that cash flow to land or hire my next person, and you can kind of make it work, you know? Whereas in a product business, you you have to spend time building a product that customers will pay for, and all that work is up front. So you need the capital to hire people and go fast, because you can't just take forever to do these things if you're onto a good idea. So that's what I would tell entrepreneurs today. Product business, raise money. Services business, think about whether you should or not. But back to your question, we picture the internet taking off. While molecular was a unique business in the beginning, there weren't many of us doing it. Now it's the late 90s, everybody's doing it. IBM is doing it. Agencies are hiring technical people. The big 4 or 5 consulting firms are doing it. And we kind of felt that being bootstrapped was a bit of a disadvantage for us, that we didn't have the money to take chances and so forth. And that was the rationale we felt like we either needed to sell the company then or raise money. We considered both and then went down the raise money path. Yeah, in the early days, there were a couple things we had to fix right away. One is churn was high. Okay, so our product, let me even back up from that. We had too many products. We had 4 products. I came in, we were only $1 million business. We have 4 products. We're selling an SEO product. We're selling a paid search product. We're selling a keyword research product. And by the way, you could access all those things through an API product if you wanted an API product. So we had 4 different customer personas. So let's just call that one a lack of focus. So one of the first things we did, and this was really hard, went to the board and said, we're going to go all in on one product. We're going all in on paid advertising. And by the way, these other 3 products, we're going to retire them. We're going to give away revenue. We're going to go backwards in revenue. And I give my investors a lot of credit for being willing to entertain that. And that's what we did. The second big theme in those early day changes to get it in the right track was team oriented. The team was unbalanced. There were people on the team that owned, 3 functions of the business. There was no true head of product. The head of marketing had trouble working with the founder, and the founder had trouble working with so-and-so. And just, we didn't have a good unified team that was all rowing in the same direction. And, I came in and told people, I don't really care about the past. I don't care about what decisions led where. I'm not burdened by any of that. Let's just build a great business. And some people were able to get on board with that and say, oh, great, let's go forward. And others were too dragged down by what had happened in the past and just had to move on.
Thank you so much for coming on, Ralph. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Zach.